Hi and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global podcast. We're coming to you from FUSION15 in New Orleans. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with David Wright.
Hello.
How are you, David?
Very well, thank you.
Carlos Casanova.
Hello, Kirsty.
And we're speaking with Cole Leslie from Certification Game.
Hi,
Cole.
Kirsty.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So training is...
Training.
It's moving along. Things are changing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It's the universal thing in all industries, right? Corporate training used to be drag me by the ear and make me do it. And then I think it got a little better when the instructors started getting better. Mm-hmm. But the problem with that is it's expensive to afford these people, you know. So I think the future is really moving towards online training where you can train from anywhere. You can train for an hour, especially in this industry. I think that's really important. You can't afford to have people off the floor for too long. Right. So if you can train for an hour, go back to your job, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there during lunch, whatever it is, I think that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was talking with a customer just a few weeks ago because they needed training for their team. And he said, I can't have all my team out for 2 days to do this training. He said the company can't. He said financially, sure, the cost isn't the issue. It's the fact that I can't have them away from their desks for 2 days. Right. Because we stop working.
Right, and that's the thing too. I mean, if it's a smaller organization, you know, if you lose one person, that's the whole desk, or you know, 3/4 of your desk. If it's a large organization, you know, what are we going to send 15 people? You know, now the cost does start becoming an issue, and that's a big thing. I mean, I think we've seen some of that transition happen, where it kind of works both ways. Let's not kid ourselves. From an organization perspective, if individuals is doing the training on their own time, there's a benefit to the organization where things happen. From an individual's perspective, hey, you know what, if I can get this training, which I may not have gotten otherwise because it was too costly to bring a trainer in and, you know, take the week off and do, you know, I remember when, probably ITIL V1 and stuff, you know, the service manager training, that was what, a 2-week, session.
Yeah, the V2 training.
The V2 training, I mean, that was a huge, and it was what, $10,000, $15,000 just for that one person. You know, you'd
and
get
then
into
the writer's cramp writing those exams at the end.
Exactly. So I mean, that was a huge investment. You know, on the flip side, you knew what you were getting too. You know, but I think you're trying to, and I guess if you could explain that a little bit, how we've tried breaking it down, like we've done with everything else, into smaller pieces that you can get the nugget that you need for that. You know, I don't want to call it just-in-time training, but it's more along those lines of, it's not a week-long thing. It's not a 2-week-long thing. It's, here's what I need to learn. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get credit for it in whatever way, shape, or fashion. You know, so how is that happening from an online perspective?
I think that that the smaller chunks are really important because I mentioned earlier, you have a chance to go practice them then. Right. And if you're in a 2-week-long training, chances are you're not going to remember what you learned on the first day. What's going to stick in your mind is what you learned on the last day. Right. So if you're online and you can go practice something, that's the best way to make it stick. So if you have a small chunk of something and then you go practice it, more likely that you're going to learn that skill. And so that's where the small chunks really help. I think that also with the new devices training becoming responsive, you can do it on your phone. You can be at your desk, working on your computer, take 5 minutes of training. Oh, you know, I remember they said something about this. Let me review it really quick and get back to my task so I can do it correctly. So I think that's pretty powerful.
Right.
So what about the UK and Europe? Do you see the same sort of trends for training?
I think currently probably not. I think it's more still the mentality is around classroom-based rather than looking at technology to support the people in the organisation. And I think if you can translate a slightly different way, you know, a disruptive way of training into a return, that's really important. I think that I've always been coming from a practitioner background. One, trying to get the money to train, which is the big deal, right? And two, after the training, what have I got now? Yes. I'm the organisation, what have I got? And I think certainly there's an opportunity there as you sort of put it in little chunks and sort of digestible stuff to see that over time rather than training done, what have I got? Which I think is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I suppose the only challenge to that would be how engaged is that person outside of a classroom environment with other people. Right. So if you can create that similar feel to the online stuff, and I think there's a way forward certainly, and I love that flexibility thing. I think that's a really great idea. You know.
So is it? I mean, do you guys find that culturally there's certain areas? I mean, and you know, you're not doing it just in the U.S. and stuff. Is it culturally a challenge where some, you know, whether it's countries or certain cultures, are more receptive to, hey, no, you know what, we have to have classroom training. Everybody has to be there, and they have to have the big kumbaya at the end and take the, bring the proctor in to do that, that exam together. Is that part of the challenge? I mean, has certain sectors and regions kind of overcome that, and others are still struggling? Are you seeing any of that?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. It seems to me like we have an even distribution in all regions, I'll say. But I don't know for a fact. That's an interesting thought, I think, to explore more.
I think there is a conditioning. We're conditioned to see what we see and understand what we are in a training sense.
Yep.
We're conditioned to expect training in a classroom.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think breaking the mold, that challenging organisations to break the mold and think a little bit differently. Right. And if you can show that value thing, because for me, training is absolutely enabling people to ensure that the future of the business is in the right hands.
Yeah.
It's about the future. It's not about now, is it? I think that's the way I look at it. And I think if you can do that in that environment and maintain that and prove that, then classroom training is dead.
Right.
But I think you'll be able to.
It is, and as you were speaking, I'm thinking to myself, there are elements of training that I think you have to have in that classroom. I think of the simulations and stuff like that. There's a certain experience that's what it is. And I think of even just higher ed. I mean, I do work with higher ed, and I'm on an advisory board for my university. There are certain things that online training, whether it's universities or professional, it'll never ever get there. The interaction with the professor that is truly in front of you, asking the what if question, and like, oh wow, somebody asked something that was just slightly off of what I was thinking, that made me think about something. That I don't think you'll ever get that in an online session.
Yeah, and I think you get to learn too in a classroom setting too. You can learn from the experience of the other students.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So I mean, how do you sort of build that sort of stuff into an online training? How do you bring that reality into your training?
There's a big social movement in e-learning right now, because I agree with you guys that some of the most powerful learning is from your peers. So someone raises their hand and says, the learning objective we just learned, I've applied that in this way in the field. And, that's an aha moment for a lot of people. It's like, okay, it's taking it from academia to actual practice. Right. So online, we try to create a lot of forums for that to happen, whether it's via chat, you can talk to the instructor, you can talk to your peers, it's almost like a Facebook community inside the learning, so that you're getting likes on your comments, people are commenting, and it's not exactly as if you were in the classroom, but it's trying to provoke those thoughts and to make sure that you're learning from your peers, because it's not just the instructor that adds value. And I also agree with you, Carlos, that I don't think the instructor will ever be replaced by online. I think online can appeal to the masses, and you can spread more training, but you're not going to replace instructors. I mean, my dad has been a science teacher for years, and I think he'd probably kill me if I said that instructors aren't necessary. So it's like they are. Their knowledge is important, and they're trained to communicate it in an effective way. So I think that's still extremely important. But reaching the masses with these online trainings that are more affordable and take less time, that's really important.
And so the other thing too you're mixing up is getting some gaming into learning. So
we are, yes.
Yeah. What value do you see the gaming side of learning providing?
I think that's the engagement piece.
Yep.
Online, I think everyone knows it saves time and it saves money.
Yep.
But it's really, really boring. A lot of times you'll just click the next button. You're not paying attention.
So I know the answers I get to get to the quiz.
Yeah. Right. Just get me through this. Or you're doing something else and you're clicking next on your computer while you're doing your other task.
While you're playing solitaire.
Right.
Well, because some of them you're forced to go through the whole timeline, right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, I just need to get to the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's this voice in the background. So that's where we're trying to use games, stories, interesting backgrounds to engage the learner, to keep their attention.
Right.
So it can be pretty simple as a drag and drop activity, but they have to think about it. They have to use the mouse. They're there. They have to do it. They can't just click the next button. Or it can be complicated. It can be an original game that we built from scratch, where you're practicing incident management as if you were a support center analyst on the floor. So there's varying degrees there.
So what sort of feedback are you getting on that? You're getting people enjoying that sort of?
People are. Some people aren't. To be honest, it's not for everyone. I don't think it is. It's not a one size fits all. Some people just aren't into it. But the majority, the people who do like it, they love it. They're like, this is something I haven't seen, and I really appreciate that.
So those sort of activities reinforce the
Right.
the learning. And I guess they make sure that you have actually listened to what's being said.
Exactly. So it's not just a game for game's
Yeah.
sake. It's a game with the content in
Yeah.
it, so that you're reviewing it.
Yeah.
It's as if it was a pop quiz, but it's just shaped a little differently
Yeah.
as a word search, for example. So
Cool.
Cool.
Excellent.
That sounds good. So,
That's it. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
thanks.
that's the issue is finding the right setting,
yeah.
the right vehicle, to get to that to that end result that we need. And in
Yeah.
some cases, it's through the game. Some cases, it's a classroom.
Yeah.
And it's. But I think definitely the online kind of has opened up. Again, like you said, to the masses. And if it's done right, the facilitation component
Yeah.
is still there. And it may never be 100%, but you know what? If you get 80% and you're getting the value out of it, I guess that's the ultimate result.
Well, thank you a lot for your time.
Thank
It's been
you.
a
Been
pleasure
fun.
chatting with you.
Absolutely.
And, look
Thank you
forward
very
to
much.
seeing what you come up with in the future.
Absolutely.
all right. Thank you, guys.
Great stuff.